You support Donald Trump?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And why is that?
I do have two main reasons why I support Trump. One more reason that I couldn't support Biden or Kamala Harris, but yeah, for that one, it's the Afghanistan withdrawal. When they came onto the tarmac, that one kind of controversial like video where Biden looked at his watch. I could not, on principle, support him after that because let's be real. If you're being honest, his decision to withdraw from that was a direct result of their. So I couldn't support Biden after that because of him looking at his watch as if he had anywhere better to be. So personally, with Biden specifically, I could not support him after that. Does that make sense?
There's a few things I have that's really relevant here. One, it was Trump's plan to leave. And they actually extended how long they had so they had more time to be able to leave. And secondly, that watch was given to him by his son that was served. So he was looking at the watch not because he was. Let me explain, please. Like I promise you, this is a relevant point. He was not looking at his watch because he was checking the time to see when he could leave. He was looking at his watch in remembrance of his son that served in the military.
I understand that, but at the same time, you also have to look at optics and everything. When you're a sitting president and people are coming onto the tarmac after a mission, or not mission, but after a directive to come back to withdraw from Afghanistan, and let's be real, Trump wanted that to be the last thing he did, for the soldiers to leave last. Biden basically just did a complete withdrawal, leaving millions of equipment back there. And that aside, it's the optics on the watch. Because of that, I could not support him after that.
No,
Because,
that's
like I said,
ridiculous. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Wait, as someone who knows that like how it is to lose someone, how could you sit there and be
I
like the way
understand.
that
I
he?
understand.
I understand being like optics. It might not be better for people that don't understand this context, but given that you understand the context, don't give me the whole optics thing. That's him looking at
I
his
know,
watch
but as a
that his son gave to him, who
I
served.
understand that, but as the sitting president, if even after the fact, because nothing was ever said about that as far as a direct, response. Because if you're the sitting president, you need to respect and look at the days coming onto the tarmac. So,
He did.
and yeah, but again, it's the watch thing. I can't, and regardless of what the watch represents to him, he was on camera, and that's not what people took from it. And as a
Okay, I,
sitting
under, I
president,
understand that's not what other people took from it, but now that you understand what the context was, what do you take
I
from it?
I understand that, and he could have said something about the watch after that,
He
and
did.
the fact that nothing really, it's just the optics on it. Like I said, I understand the significance of the watch for him, but with the optics of being the sitting president and being on camera looking at the watch, it is not a good look.
Yeah, you could say it's not a good look to people who don't understand the context. But now that you do understand the context, what is your perspective on the matter? Are you still going to say you wouldn't support him just because other people will get some sort of understanding of it that didn't actually, which didn't actually occur? Like he wasn't just looking at the watch to check the time. He was looking at the watch because it was literally his son's watch that he gave to him that served in the military. Like so
Well,
that
I'll
totally
have
makes
to
sense.
look
That
into that.
context makes so much sense, especially when they're at a funeral.
Well, I'll have to look at that personally, but from an outward perspective, not knowing that, it is a terrible look. So at the
Okay.
time, because we have to take into consideration at the time of me seeing that, I could not support him in any way because I just, in my opinion, it was disrespectful to the people who were coming onto the tarmac. I understand
I'm
that his
sorry. I
son.
just told you
Hold
the
on, hold on,
context like
hold on, hold
four
on, hold on.
times. I'm not going to say it again. This is ridiculous at this point. You understand the context now. What is your position now that you understand the context?
Again, I can sympathize with that. I really can, but with the coming onto the tarmac, that should have been where his focus would have been. I understand that it's his son's watch. I hold on, Parker. Hold on. I understand that it's his son's watch, but it's the day as a result of his decision that he should. That's where his focus should have been. Now,
What decision that he made led to that happening? Because he was following through with Trump's plan. I don't know why you're
He
laughing at
did
that.
it.
That's true.
I understand that. I'm laughing at the fact that you ignored whatever.
I didn't ignore what you said. I just addressed what you said, like 4 times.
He
I
effectively
literally
did
responded to it 4 times.
what Trump would have done.
What?
He effectively did it in reverse to what Trump would have done. So
No? How so?
Trump wanted to withdraw. Sorry if there's any noise. I'm Trump wanted to pull the soldiers out effectively first, and all that kind of stuff. So with those people essentially being as fodder in order for the withdrawal to actually happen, that is Biden's decision.
What was the decision? Sorry, you didn't clarify.
Sorry, you're the first person of any kind of relevance that I've actually talked to, so I'm a little shaky right now.
That's fine.
Trump wanted to pull out in a very specific way. Biden kind of went up against that. Instead, he just kind of did a full withdrawal, and again, leaving a lot of equipment behind, which is now being used by.
This is not
Yes,
in Afghanistan.
They, whatever. Anyway,
You mean the right? Okay, so the specifically.
they're
Yeah,
all kind of working together anyway.
So I have a few things here. Trump signed an agreement with to give 5,000 members of the back to the town, which some of those were specifically a part of the attack on the airport that led to the service members. Secondly, the millions of equipment that you're referencing, all of the equipment that was specifically just U.S. owned was either destroyed on site or brought back, and the stuff that was U.S. owned that was then given to the Afghan government to defend themselves, that is what was taken over by the. So are you telling me that we wouldn't have given any U.S. equipment under Donald Trump's presidency to the Afghan military to defend themselves against the.
I don't think so, because it's a very risky thing. Because, okay, so you have to look at the control of the region by the anyway, because they're okay. So I don't want to say Islam because that could be, yeah, because of the way they think, they become martyrs. Period. If they die, whatever. So it's a complicated issue for me, but anyway, I want to move on behind that because I basically just said the first reason. I want to move on to the second.
Can I also address the 65 service members that died in conflict under the Trump administration comparative to the 16 under the Biden-Harris administration? If you blame Biden for the members that died under his administration, do you blame Trump for the members that died under his administration?
I think any sitting president needs to take responsibility for what happens in their presidency. Anywho,
so Trump has responsibility for more service members in conflict?
What war was started under Trump?
Turkish-Kurdish war. That's one, for example, where when we pulled our troops out of Kurdistan, right, that led to our Kurdish allies being by Turkey. We can also reference specifically how Trump helped back a Saudi-backed blockade over Yemen that led to the starving of Yemeni children. 70,000 Yemeni children were starved or
that we were involved with.
Yeah, the U.S. specifically under the Trump administration.
Well, if that's true, and I don't think it is, then he should take responsibility for it. But I want to get to my second point. The reason why I fully supported Trump himself was that he wanted to restore the sovereignty of our borders. Under Biden, we all know this, millions of illegals came into this country, and a lot of people on the left want to say that he wants to deport all immigrants. That's not the truth. That's not the truth. A lot of leftists like to leave out that illegal part. And that is the part that people like me focus on. Illegal. If you cross that border, you are committing a crime. Therefore, the response to that is to deport you. And that is what Trump ran on. And that is the thing that held me in support of him.
Okay. So, undocumented immigrants, you're referencing undocumented immigrants coming to the country. I don't think anyone who's undocumented, who hasn't committed a violent crime or bad crime, should be deported. I see no benefit from deporting them. I would say that they should be given a pathway to citizenship where they do not have to leave the country. So I actually do disagree with people deporting those that are undocumented that have not met that set of criteria. And disproportionately, the Trump administration is deporting people who have not committed violent crimes or bad crimes or with any prior criminal record.
Well, if you cross that border, you have committed a crime. So that objectively is false.
Yeah,
So
I said prior. Yeah, I
yeah,
obviously understand that's a misdemeanor. I don't think that's a big issue though.
yeah,
I
but
mean,
if
I
you
mean,
also,
Trump had committed 34 felonies. You don't have an issue with that.
I think that was ridiculous on its face
What
because
was
it was
ridiculous?
the fact that those quote unquote felonies were actually meant to be misdemeanors. They just manipulated some things to make it a felony. But that's
No,
beside
there
the
was a
point.
predicate crime in furtherance of another crime. What was the
That's
felonies? Can you tell me what the felonies were for?
the mishandling documents or whatever. But anyway, that's
No, the mishandling documents was a completely different case. This was falsification of business records in the first degree, which is a Class C felony in the state of New York because of a predicate crime. The jury agreed that there was an furtherance of another crime, and that's why it was considered felonies.
that's literally not the point of my point, though.
Wait, but you were wrong. I'm just fact checking you.
Okay, okay, but it's not what I wanted to talk about.
Okay, then I don't know why you brought it up.
You brought up the felonies, dude. Anywho,
No, you brought up that it was a misdemeanor.
you
I understand
brought
that
up.
I brought up the felonies in response to you bringing up that it was a misdemeanor, and then you said it was supposed to be a misdemeanor. One, that would mean it would be on the same basis as someone coming to the country undocumented, which you don't consider
Parker,
bad. Secondly, as it relates
you
to this, if you
brought
want to
up
reference,
Trump's
given that it's
quote
a
felony.
felony, that's even higher up in terms of a criminal charge.
Parker, you brought up Trump's felonies. I didn't.
I just told you the context of me bringing it up. Did you hear anything I just said?
Yeah, but I was talking about
Okay,
illegal
what was the
immigrants.
context that I brought it up?
You were you were talking. I was talking about how these illegals, these
Undocumented
illegals,
immigrants?
me supporting Trump and all his felonies or whatever. You brought up Trump felonies.
We brought up that it was a misdemeanor, right? You brought up that it was a misdemeanor. I said specifically you don't care about that because it is the case that you don't give a shit about Trump's felonies. Then you said in response to that that it was misdemeanors. I said
Okay.
no, that's not the case. It was actually a felony because our felonies because of the predicate
Well,
crime.
I'll look that up and fact check you on that. So that's beside the point. Anywho, staying in this country illegally is also a crime.
I don't
I
care.
hope you know that. So wouldn't it be accurate to say that if you commit crimes in this country and you're here illegally, you should be deported?
No, it depends on what crime you've committed. If you've committed a violent crime or a bad crime, right, a crime that's bad insofar as you should be deported, in those contexts, yes, there should be deportation on the condition that they're going to be put in a prison in another country. But if we're just talking about them coming to the country and say they jaywalked, right, I wouldn't kick them out of the country for jaywalking.
Crimes such as, let's take for example, uh, crap, I forgot. The Lake and Riley were preventable crimes because these individuals shouldn't have been here to begin with. So if they were, not to mention the fact that the person who killed Lake and Riley was released several times instead of being deported, that is probably the most preventable crime. And all
Democrats
of
don't disagree with deporting people who have committed violent crimes or bad crimes.
yeah, but you can't take the chance with everybody because
Undocumented immigrants are less likely to commit violent crime and property crime in the United States comparative to natural-born U.S. citizens.
I don't believe that at all.
It's
Anywho,
true. You can check the bibliography in my bio. There's a page of different types of studies that indicate that immigrants commit lower rates of violent crime, drug crime, and property crime, whether they're documented or undocumented.
okay, but
That's a
that
fact.
doesn't change the fact that you can't take the chance on every illegal immigrant. They were taking the chance with the guy who taken Riley by releasing him multiple times, and look what happened. So it is safe to say.
Again, if they've committed a violent crime or a bad crime, they should be deported. Given it is the case that they have not committed a violent crime or bad crime, the
Then why
chance
is it-
you're taking is actually lesser than that of a natural-born U.S. citizen.
Then why is it that under the Biden administration, this man was not deported until Lake and Riley was?
So again, if they have committed a violent crime or bad crime, they would have been deported prior. Plus, the Biden-Harris administration still deported people who haven't committed violent crimes or bad crimes. The idea that you're blaming this on the Biden administration's policy on immigration, one, is not justified, right? And two, right, is not applicable at all. I have a question. Do you think that Trump is responsible for Molly Tibbetts?
I don't know who that is.
Molly Tibbetts was an undocumented immigrant under Trump's administration. Why didn't Trump's administration deport them?
Then, okay, here's a question. When did that person come into the country?
Under Trump's admin.
What was the name? Molly what?
Molly Tibbetts.
Tibbetts. I'll look that up. That way I don't want to say anything that I don't know about this, because clearly I don't know who that is. So I'll look that up and I'll make a decision off of that. All right. So on your Molly Tibbetts thing, I looked it up, and this is what I got. I'm not going to say his name because I don't believe in giving people any kind of credibility or anything by putting their name on the line. But he had entered and lived in the United States for a period believed to be 4 and 7 years before his arrest in 2018. Which, if we do the math, that would technically be under Obama's administration that he entered the country.
Yeah, sure. If it was the case they came in to my understanding, he was in the country, came in the country under the Trump administration. I can go back and check. You would agree that they didn't deport him while in the country, though, right? Well, so under the entirety of the Trump administration, they were not deported until this happened.
Well, I think Trump has also kind of admitted that he made a lot of mistakes in his first administration, and that this go around he wanted to do things differently, which is why he wanted to focus so heavily and hard on illegal immigration and the border. And so that attracted my attention. So again, I looked this up, and he entered the country under an Obama administration, and this happened within his administration, with Trump's administration. Sorry, again, a little shaky. Anywho, and if he was deported shortly after this, that makes sense.
Where'd you see that he was came in under the Obama administration?
So I looked it up on Perplexity, and I asked it, when did so and so enter the country, and that's where it said. I'll see if I can.
Yeah, sure. Wait, I do see this. I do see this.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but was not deported under the Trump administration until this happened, right? Yeah, like the idea is that any person who has committed a violent crime or bad crime or would engage in this particular behavior, they would be deported under a Democratic administration as well, given that they had the ability to.
Say again?
Yeah. What's it called? Did you hear what I just said?
I don't know if you were reading or saying that.
I wasn't. I'm saying that any person who's in the country undocumented who has committed a violent crime or bad crime would be deported under a Democratic administration, right? Given that they had the ability to.
Well,
conservatives, the idea that that Democrats just want this to happen is ridiculous.
I'm not saying that they do. I'm just saying that there was a lot more leniency on illegal immigrants than under a Republican administration. And I do feel that is a problem, because for me, it diminishes what it means to be an American. Because if you're going to let an influx of these illegals into the country, then effectively
undocumented immigrants. Now the idea that they're quote unquote letting more people in the country is ridiculous, right? It wasn't the case that we were letting people in the country who are undocumented who have committed violent crimes or bad crimes. There was no position on that. And then secondly, can we point to crime committed by U.S. citizens and to say that specifically should we blame Trump for that or something? I'm confused. What is this point?
Give me a second. I am seeing that, but at the same time, you also have to take into consideration, why would they want to commit crimes, put themselves on the radar just to be deported? Because they are here illegally.
Okay, well, I mean, if they commit lower rates of violent crime and property crime in the United States compared to natural-born U.S. citizens, why would you specifically say that they should be treated as if they are criminals, right? That are more likely to commit crimes.
The border, you by definition are a criminal. If you are crossing the border illegally,
you
are.
I said that are going to be committing crimes that are bad. Do you think that Donald Trump should be treated like a criminal?
By what means?
What do you mean by what means? He is a criminal.
My lord. Again,
Why are you so okay with saying that about undocumented immigrants, but not the president of the United States?
because one is a preventable crime that can
Yeah,
be
yeah, and it's preventable for, again, the person in the position of president from being there in the very first place. And it's going to be less likely that they're going to be able to, like, actually, here, I'll ask you this question. Do you think that if a criminal is president, that it would at all increase or decrease the likelihood of crime happening in the country?
Well, I've already talked about that, and I really don't want to rehash that because I know you're talking about Trump and the indictments and all that kind of stuff. So I really don't want to rehash that because I want to stick.
I'm not even talking about, I'm talking about him being held civilly liable. Do you think that, for example, him being held civilly liable will increase the likelihood that people are harmed?
Not criminally.
That doesn't change anything. That it was a civil court that determined this, a unanimous decision from a jury.
Yeah, but it was not. He was not held criminally liable. There is a difference.
Yeah, I just said that. Would you like to respond to what I said?
Repeat your question.
Yeah. He was held civilly liable. Does that increase or decrease the likelihood of those types of things happening? If he's put in the position of president?
Intellectually honest, I don't know. But with people who cross that border illegally, any crimes that they commit afterwards, including staying in this country illegally, can be prevented.
Do you think we should ban tourism? Because that can be prevented. Tourists commit crime.
Tourism is also kind of regulated through the green card system, so there's that too.
But tourists commit crime, and that's preventable. You could ban tourism.
They're subsequently arrested and deported.
So do you think that we should ban tourism because that's preventable?
I think that it should be a little bit more limited and more regulated than it has been lately, but sure.
Okay, then you could say there should be more regulations in terms of immigration, specifically, like, for example, listen. For example, those that have not committed violent crimes or bad crimes, they're given a pathway to citizenship because they're no more likely to commit violent crimes or bad crimes, and it incentivizes them to go through the vetting process.
The people who cross the border without documents, without going through the proper systems, are avoiding the regulation. They are avoiding any kind of vetting.
Because it takes too long.
And it should be, because we need to vet these people.
You don't need 5 to 7 years to vet people. That's ridiculous.
If we are a country founded on settlers, and that's a lot of things. That's what people.
And why is that a good thing? That's a bad thing, right?
No, it's not.
It's not. You mean them indigenous Americans that lived here? The slavery that this country's founded on? You don't think that's bad?
Let me just point out that I am Cherokee myself. So
I'm sorry. Does that mean that, like, you can't deny the? You just said that it wasn't bad for them to come to the country and colonize the region. That's bad.
Settlers came to this country and built society.
Wait, what do you mean built? Society already existed here.
In a very it's not really civilized.
Oh, okay, that's gross. So are you saying it's justified because they're quote unquote not civilized?
Okay, so let's take, for example,
what does civilized mean? What does civilized mean?
Law and order.
Law and order. So there were laws that existed amongst indigenous Americans.
No,
Plus, we don't have law and order with Trump as president because he's quite literally a convicted criminal, and he pardoned violent rioters who officers. And do you think it's law and order to, like, literally indigenous Americans? That's not law and order. That's not civilization. I don't know why you just randomly, like, stopped talking.
Oh no,
conversation.
I was typing something in.
Okay, why?
Give me a second.
I'm not saying go to the next person. I mean, I don't know why you just randomly do this without telling me what you're doing because we're in the middle of a conversation.
I understand. I'm looking up what you were saying.
What? You didn't learn this in history class?
Honestly, school doesn't do a whole lot.
So maybe we should stop taking this stuff out of the history books, like what Donald Trump's advocating for. He specifically said that it was too woke to acknowledge that slavery is bad, and he wanted to take down the Smithsonian. That's quite literally him denying history, and that is actually what put us in the circumstance where people don't know that this happened in the first place.
That's not true at all. Trump wants schools and museums to stop degrading America
You mean
because
acknowledging the past of slavery in this country?
you can acknowledge the fact that slavery existed, but even with the founding fathers, they were anti-slavery themselves, and you have to also have to
What?
take into
I'm sorry.
hold on,
You
give me a
can't say that.
second.
That's bullshit. That's bullshit.
They were, as a matter
They
of
had
fact.
the ability to put the abolition of slavery within the Constitution, and they did not do it.
You also have to take into consideration the facts of the time.
You're
Because
literally
we
lying.
are-
Stop. No. Stop pivoting off of that. You just lied. You just said that they were
No, I didn't.
anti enslaving people. They owned slaves.
They owned slaves because of the facts of the time. Basically, we lived.
Wait,
under
I'm
the
sorry. So
same-
don't say that they're anti-slavery while they owned people as property.
literally,
You need
the
to
founding
you need to go and look into history before you make claims about this, because you clearly don't know.
Who was the first founding father to release their slaves?
I don't know.
Robert Carter III of Virginia,
Okay.
and this was the first founding father. The founding fathers were against slavery. They thought it was savage.
So then
behavior.
why didn't they put that in the Constitution?
Did you read the Declaration of Independence?
Yes.
They literally set the precedent that led to Abraham Lincoln abolishing slavery.
Okay, the Declaration of Independence did not set the basis for abolishing
We hold
slavery,
these
and the
truths
only
to
reason
self-evident
Abraham
that all
Lincoln,
men
quote
are
unquote,
created
abolished
equal and
slavery,
are
specifically,
endowed
which it
with
wasn't even completely abolished at the time because there still was slavery that continued after it, but the particular basis for it being abolished
Slavery
was
still
because he
exists
wanted
today.
what?
Slavery still exists today. It's
Yes.
granted highly illegal, but the founding fathers set the precedent for it to be illegal.
Okay, and it wasn't specifically set by the founding fathers. It wasn't. That's just not true. What was the basis for that?
We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal and they are endowed with the Creator.
Do you know what the 3/5 compromise was?
Say again?
Do you know what the 3/5 compromise was?
3/5. It sounds familiar. I'm gonna have to. I'm literally getting the documents.
Yeah, enslaved people, especially like within the context of the South, right, were granted 3/5 designation of a person so that there could be more seats, particularly within the context of those states, right, in Congress. So they didn't give them the ability to vote, but they counted them, right, amongst the population. Only 3/5 of a person, right, counted, right, in order to be able to increase how many seats that they can get in those particular states. So I want you to acknowledge these things before you say that, like, oh, Trump isn't trying to undermine our knowledge about this when he quite literally said that it was too woke to acknowledge slavery is bad. It seems like we need to acknowledge these things a lot more because in history we haven't.
But at the expense of basically degrading the country, because this country has done a lot of good.
We have to
And
acknowledge the bad things this country has done in order for us to do better as a country.
I understand, but without bad, there cannot be. Without good, there cannot. There's you can say it either way. Without good, there cannot be bad, and vice versa.
That makes no sense.
So,
Can you do good actions that have no bad within them?
How can you tell the difference then?
I'm asking you, could you determine, right, could you specifically engage in good actions? Well, actually, are you Christian?
Yes, I am.
Okay, heaven. Is that all good?
I believe heaven is a separation from God, so I don't really believe that hell is how other people depict it. So,
Is it perfect? Okay, how about this? God existed alone prior to creation, right? God is perfect, right?
Mhm.
Okay, God is perfect. God existed alone. Nothing in existence was evil or bad when God existed alone. Did God have an understanding of evil?
without evil, you cannot acknowledge good.
Okay, so without evil existing, could God acknowledge the good?
Yes.
Okay, so then you just contradicted yourself.
No, I didn't.
You did. You just said that if you don't have bad in society, then you can't acknowledge good. I just gave you an example of a reality in which there was no bad because God existed alone prior to creation. It was only good, and yet God still could tell the difference between good and bad.
Because men
effectively corrupt themselves. So,
You're adding more proselytization and other sort of arguments specifically. I'm talking about the idea that you just, at least from a baseline, agree that just because there isn't evil within the context of an action doesn't mean we can't identify the good.